Corner de Noni, Madueke, segundo palo, ahí no hay nadie. El remate de segunda. Se llama Martín y no se apellida Zubimendi, se apellida Zurrimendi. ¡Zurriagazo! Para la apertura del Arsenal. Eso no lo para Sels, ni el Alcacelser, ni nadie te quita eso. Zubimendi, Zurrimendi, Arsenal 1, Forest 0. Martín, 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 Alcacelser, Zubimendi, Zubimendi, Martín, Martín, Alcacelser, Zubimendi.
This is Arsecast Extra.
Hello and welcome to another Arsecast Extra, as always, with James from Gunnerblog. James, a goodly evening to you.
Goodly evening.
Goodly evening. It's weird.
It's really weird. It's Saturday night, guys. It's an unusual time for the pod, but a good time for a pod off the back of a resounding win over Nottingham Forest.
I guess so, but what does it say about our lives that we're doing a podcast on a Saturday night?
That we are dedicated
That's
to our
it.
craft.
That's it. Professionals, we want to give the people what they want in the most timely way possible.
It's not that we're old or losers. It's that we're dedicated.
We could be old, dedicated losers. It is possible.
I have a feeling that may be exactly what we are. But no, there's exciting reasons that it's tonight. Partly that you are, is it all right if I say, bound for the Basque country?
That's true. Yeah, I'm going to Bilbao tomorrow. So as a way of ensuring we have the podcast out in a timely way, and so as not to be like a big rush tomorrow morning. We're recording tonight because I've got a flight tomorrow. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going to see Arsenal's opening game in the Champions League. The San Mamés, the stadium, Athletic Club Stadium, has sort of been on my wish list, you know, for a while now, since the first time I was in Bilbao. It's incredible when you go and see the stadium in the daytime. There's just this sort of amazing, it's just right at the top of the town, and then you sort of look over the river and the buildings, and it's really beautiful. And I've wanted to go there for a game for a long time, so I'm really looking forward to that. So that's part of the reason. So that takes what, about 13% off the loserness?
At least.
Yeah.
At least 13%. I mean, listen, that's still a lot of percent in the other camp, but what can we do? Well, I mean, listen, I don't know about you guys at home, but I can't think of anything better to do on a Saturday night, frankly, than talk about Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 0. It was great.
It was. It was a really, really good win. You know what? I was thinking about the game, and I was thinking about, you know, how we discuss it, and sometimes we do it chronologically, sometimes we do it in slightly different ways by incidents, you know. And this one, it sort of reminded me of, I was trying to think about how do we talk about it, and there were so many things. It's like, you know, when you went to the cinema with your mates when you were a kid, and you come out of the cinema and you're all excited having seen the film, and you're like, oh, remember that bit when Rocky did blah, 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 or remember that bit when Indiana Jones did this? I kind of feel like we need to do it that way, but sort of almost player by player. Remember when Madueke did this? Remember when Mosquera did that? Remember when Timber did this? It's sort of like that in my mind. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
One big highlight reel.
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, do you want to do that?
I don't mind what way we do it. I'm open, you know. I'm going to take another few percent off my loser status by saying, listen, we can do it whatever way you want, but I do think it was, like, collectively, it's a great win, and it's an indication that we have some incredible squad depth. But the way that we sort of view some of the individuals who came into the team, I think, is going to be the nuts and bolts of how we discuss this game, I reckon.
Totally. And like, you know, when you speak about moments, obviously There's a goal that lit up the game. There's little moments of individual skill I can think of from the likes of Eze and Madueke. A stunning save, I think, at one point from David Raya that's probably worthy of a mention. Some defensive interventions.
Yeah.
Cristhian Mosquera and Gabriel. Yeah, it kind of was a game that had, as Arsenal fans, really, it kind of had everything we're looking for. And like you say, players coming into the team and really impressing. I mean, above and beyond all else, I do just think this was a really impressive demonstration of the degree of depth that's now at Mikel Arteta's disposal.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's talk about maybe team selection then, because there was news in the press conference on Friday that William Saliba, he was fit, he was in training. Turns out, he said afterwards, he felt like he needed another couple of days, which I suppose makes more sense given the reporting that we had about that injury and what was expected from William Saliba, certainly ahead of schedule in that sense. So he didn't play.
I think always if Mikel Arteta sort of suggests a player is going to be fit, there's probably a decent chance he's not going to play and vice versa.
Yeah, maybe.
The fact that he sounded quite optimistic and positive about it, we should have known it was all a ruse. But, you know, I think it's impossible to talk about the team selection for today without thinking of the week ahead. And obviously there's Bilbao on Tuesday night and then Manchester City the following weekend. So, you know, Mikel Arteta's, I think, picking this team through that prism, isn't he? Of thinking, I've got to use my squad as best I can to get through these three very big games. Yeah,
I thought, you know, obviously seeing a midfield of Zubimendi, Marino and Odegaard was really interesting. And I did want to play this. This is Arteta in his post-game press conference talking about the selection of Mikel Merino over Declan Rice.
Because Mikel comes after scoring 4 goals in 2 games with a really high emotional state, and I want to use that. When a player is in that moment, I want to play him because he's going to bring something different with the qualities that they have, and Declan comes in and it will have an impact immediately, or will play the next game, and that's what we need to try to manage the best possible way.
I think that's fascinating because I saw the lineup and went, Rice must have maybe just tweaked something on international duty. He could be a little bit hurt. You know, they're protecting him. As you say, it is a big week. But the explanation publicly anyway is that Marino, having gone away and scored a goal and then scored a hat-trick, Arteta is saying, listen, I trust this guy. I have faith in this guy and his ability. He's not a DM, despite what some people might say. And I think that was evident in the way that he played today. But as a way of deciding how you're going to pick your team over the course of a really, really long season, it probably becomes a little easier, you know, to explain to Declan Rice, for example, listen, we've got Man City next Sunday. I really want you fit for that one. We've got a big Champions League game in midweek. You've been away. Marino's in good form. He's feeling good. You know, we're going to use the full depth of our squad. And that's been one of the questions we've been asking about Arteta and going into this season is how is he going to use that squad? And he's open to form and a player's mood or confidence dictating his team selection.
Yeah, I think probably Declan Rice would have wanted to play this game. Invariably, he does. And from what I understand, there's no particular injury concern or specific worry. But this is what we've sort of hoped and kind of asked for at times Mikel Arteta to do, to embrace the options at his disposal. And you can't argue with his decision to pick a guy in the form Marino is in. You know, we spoke last week and we said, I think I said, well, you know, how do we use him? I guess his best position is that kind of left eight. Well, if he's not going to get a game in that position now, when is it going to happen? And I think, obviously, as well, it's part of Mikel Arteta's long-term strategy of trying to turn Arsenal into Real Sociedad by playing Marino, Zubimendi and Odegaard together for the first time since July 2020, when they appeared for Sociedad. But, yeah, I also think, like, Declan Rice, whatever he may, you know, feel about that decision, he's a pretty extraordinary player to have on your substitutes bench. I mean, it occurred to me in that final 20 minutes or so, like, you know, he's too powerful for teams at the best of times. But when they're tiring and their heads have gone down. I mean, he just absolutely glides through people. So yeah, I had no issue with it. And elsewhere, Saliba, given a bit more time, made sense. Calafiori continued at left back. I'm curious to see how many of these games, 3 games in 8 days, he plays, given some of the concerns over him previously. And then a very interesting, very new, very sort of novel front three, right, of Gyokeres, flanked by Madueke on the right, and then Eze making his first start on the left. Yeah,
that was exciting. I really did want to see Eze on the left, and we got that. It felt like Madueke was going to be the guy who was going to play there anyway in the absence of Bukayo Saka. Before we get into the individuals, I suppose, it is just maybe worth noting that, having lost Martin Odegaard, we'll talk about that in a second, but, having lost Odegaard, you've got no Saliba, Ben White doesn't play, Kai Havertz doesn't play, Bukayo Saka doesn't play. And there's a sort of relative calm to the way people are feeling about the team and the squad and what we have on the bench. Cristhian Nørgaard didn't even make the bench. It really is a very, very, very deep squad. And people have asked, how is he going to keep all these players happy? And maybe it becomes an issue over the course of the season. But when you look at the result, the performance, the control, the way that we absolutely deserve to win that game, playing it without players that maybe even last season you would say there's no way we could do that without those players. And we did it. It really is a testament to the way this squad has been built out.
Yeah, I think you just have to ask yourself kind of how you would feel this time a year ago if Arsenal were without that list of players. Saliba, Saka, Rice, Odegaard going off after 20 minutes or whatever it was. Would we win this game with those players missing? I can't say yes with a great deal of confidence. I'm not saying it's impossible. Kai Havertz, by the way, I didn't mention. Yeah. Ben White. Yeah. That's the thing. We've had a bad start to the season in terms of injuries. We've lost major players for big games, and yet I think I'm right in saying, or certainly we were at full time, we're top of the Premier League table.
Right.
And that, I don't remember an Arsenal squad with this kind of depth. People will say, 2004, the Invincibles, whatever. Squads weren't this big.
Fuck off. 2004 with the Invincibles, we had, with all due respect, we had Graham Stack as our backup goalkeeper.
Exactly.
And Jens Lehmann played 38 games and played all the Champions League games. That was a small squad.
We had an abundance of riches in attack, and I think that leads people to kind of, misremember. But they were much smaller squads. Squads have never been the kind of size they are now, and I've never seen. I've probably seen better first 11s than this Arsenal team. I've never seen a squad.
Yeah.
With as much richness of options for a manager, and that is the kind of my overriding outtake from the transfer window is that they've basically taken out an insurance policy against exactly the situation we're facing. We as a club have kind of refused to let our story be written by injuries, and the recruitment speaks to that. So, yeah, I do think it's you've got to take your hat off to, the decision makers, the owners, everybody for kind of bankrolling this, because it's a super strong squad, and that was reflected in my degree of comfort about the lineup.
Yeah, and of course you lose someone like Odegaard. I don't know when he got the injury. It was, let me have a look. 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Because he stayed on for a little while.
Stayed on, like he did in the game against Leeds. He stayed on for a little while and then obviously couldn't continue. So that's a blow. That is a blow. I'm
curious as to what exactly he's done.
He says the shoulder, the same kind of area as the previous one, and you could see when he went in for that tackle, the way he landed was a bit awkward. He sort of landed on his shoulder more than, like, his hand didn't break his fall in the way that you would have liked, you know?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in shoulder injuries, but sort of traditionally you think of like a dislocation or something, you know what I mean? But like, I'm not sure. Is it a muscular complaint? Is it an impact injury that's just causing him a lot of pain? I don't know. But as soon as he went down, you kind of knew, oh, this is the same thing that he's been suffering with. I mean, I suppose one of the benefits of the size of squad we have is that, you know, we can afford to take less risks with the players. That if somebody like Odegaard, you know, is in a situation where they are playing through pain, or there's risk of them aggravating, or, you know, getting a more serious injury, then get them off.
Yeah, which, you know, they did. I'm guessing it's probably something muscular, right? The rotator cuff or something,
right,
like that. I don't know if he's cracked a bone or anything like that, but yeah, just really unfortunate, because he had such a good game for Norway in the international break, and he played the 90 minutes, and you're thinking, wow, did he really need to do that? But maybe it suggested that the shoulder was okay, but, you know, again, he landed really awkwardly. His sort of arm slipped underneath him as he landed, and yeah, anyway, he went off. Ethan Nwaneri came on. I thought Ethan Nwaneri, like he was against Leeds, was very, very good. Very tidy, maybe not quite as impressive in front of goal as you would have liked. There was a moment, I think, where he had an opportunity from the edge of the box. I think it was Marino who set him up, and he shot over the bar from a position where you think, oh, that's exactly where he wants the ball. But, you know, we were dominant in that first half in particular, weren't we? You know, played a lot of the game down there, left-hand side, which is where Noni Madueke was getting a lot of joy against the sort of fill-in left-back, Morato, who, you know, is not a novice at left-back, but I think is more of a central defender. But he was having a lot of joy on that side, wasn't he? I think he grew with confidence as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that Mikel Arteta made that point about Marino coming off international duty in like a really positive psychological frame of mind, because you'd have to think Noni Madueke is in a similar place. I think he was always going to play this game because of Saka's absence, but he had a couple of really positive performances with England. Scored a great goal out in Serbia as well in the second of the two games, and I think you could see that he's a player who is feeling very confident right now. Yeah, he had some great moments. I mean, I particularly liked that one in the first half where he kind of went inside his man, and then was it a dummy that just kind of left a defender completely for dead, where he sort of went to strike the ball and then just carried it past him. But he was very direct. He was a menace, you know, a thorn in Forest's side throughout the game. And actually, like, his numbers from the match are pretty astonishing. I think
you got them
most crosses 14, most touches in opponent's box 12, most duels 1 9, most chances created 5, most successful take-ons 4, most tackles 3, most fouls 1 2. I mean,
he was kind of relentless, wasn't he? Which I think is, you know, part of the reason that we maybe went for him is that high volume of action in the final third, which he's involved in.
Mikel Arteta spoke about his kind of physical capacity to repeat. I guess that's his stamina and his athleticism, which isn't to downplay, you know, the technical level, but I think he is a hell of an athlete, and he seems to be able to just go and go and go again. And a lot of being a winger, particularly a winger who runs in behind, like Madueke is happy to do, is making runs that aren't found, that aren't seen. It's sprint, 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 sprint. And he seems to be able to maintain that across 90 minutes, or certainly as long as he was on the pitch today, which is really encouraging. You know, there was a big kerfuffle, wasn't there, about the signing? But at this very early stage, you'd have to say that it looks like quite a smart piece of business. I mean, I can't remember us ever having a player who, if not quite making up for Saka's absence, could certainly soften that blow in the way that Madueke has done in the last couple of games.
For sure, he's no Marquinhos, but you know, I get what you're saying. Did you see the bit on TNT Sports after the game when Eze and Madueke were being interviewed?
I have not seen that. No.
Martin Keown, he's there, and we know Martin can be a bit forthright, right? And he says, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but he says, Nonny, you know, I have to say I was a little bit worried when you signed because I always thought you were quite selfish. But
really,
but yeah, he said, but you know, you've really, you know, found a way to find that balance. You know, take players on, but also bring your teammates into it. Is that the manager? Is that, you know, playing with these other players around you? But you could see Eze and Madueke were both a bit like, what the fuck?
The thing is,
I mean, that there's something, you know, his reply was really good. He said, you know, as a winger, you have to have that belief in yourself to take the player on, to take your fullback on, but also find the balance, you know, to try and bring other players into play. And, you know, one of the things I think that we talked about maybe when he signed was the amount of dribbles, the amount of shots, the amount of take-ons that he produces in 90 minutes, which is, you know, completely different from pretty much everybody that we have, or the volume certainly was a lot higher, you know, so that, you know, I think there's a desire to bring that into the team, and you could see the way he just kept going past the fullback, getting to the byline, cutting it back. They defended quite well, but, you know, he just kind of keeps going, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, again, this sounds like faint praise, and I don't mean it as such, but he's buying a lot of lottery tickets, you know, like he's taking a lot of chances.
Sure.
There is a bravery, there is a willingness to try things that I think it has been a bit of a missing ingredient for us at times. And you know what, like, I don't know about him being selfish previously. I've not really seen enough of him to say if there's any merit in that. But we have spoken about how this is a guy who a lot of coaches and managers have said, oh, there's, you know, if he could just kind of take that final step, if there was there might be a kind of psychological piece missing that's stopping him from being like a truly elite player. This is in no way to excuse the reaction of, you know, what happened when he joined the club. But if it serves to sharpen a player's mind, like it may turn out, but it could be a really positive thing for him. Like, again, I'm not sort of condoning the reaction or saying that's a good idea, we should do that to every player. Not at all. But I think that it meant that he arrived with such a point to prove. And watching him on the pitch now, it feels like this is maybe a more focused, more determined Noni Madueke than anybody's seen until now. And he deserves the credit for that. Right?
Yeah, sure.
For kind of taking that stick and turning it into a motivating factor. But I'm really pleased for him. And he got a massive reception today when he went off. Yeah,
he was very, very good. Really, really good. Really positive. You know, I know the stats won't show that, you know, he didn't get a goal or didn't get an assist, but it was from his corner that the first goal arrived. And we talked about this actually last week, wasn't it? Or the week before? Yeah. It was about like, why can't Madueke take a corner? And it turns out he can actually take a good corner. Whether they worked on
Declan Rice is off those outswingers for now.
I think so. I think the quality and the consistency of his delivery from the corners was really, really good. It was about the half-hour mark thereabouts. We get another corner. We'd had maybe 3 or 4 in that previous 5-10 minutes. Put it in. Forest cleared. And then Martin Zubimendi with a really, really impressive volley from the edge of the box, or the edge of the D, I guess you would say. One of those where... do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when we talked about the games against PSG last year or last season, right? Where you have that moment of quality that somebody is just capable of producing a finish, a volley, a strike that even if it gets a little bit of a deflection, even if it does come off your shin a little bit, the quality of the strike is such that you give yourself a great chance of scoring a goal. And it was that sprung to mind when Zubimendi smacked that one home to make it 1-0.
Yeah, unbelievable hit, unbelievable connection. Great technique, great concentration. Probably the last player, one of the last players on the pitch we would expect to score. But then he is a very technically gifted player, so maybe that's, maybe that's not quite fair. I remember speaking to people who've worked with him for years who said there are attacking dimensions to his game that have not been fully exploited. Whether they meant smashing in volleys from 25 yards, I don't know. But it's just an unbelievable hit. I mean, it takes a nick on the way through, but I have to say it's hit with such power, such force. I'm not wholly convinced that the keeper's getting anywhere near it anyway. It's almost past him before he moves.
It's just such a clean strike of the ball, and it's not an easy technique either, from there, because you see players try that all the time, and more often than not, it ends up going over the bar or out for a throw or something like that. So it's just an unbelievable way to open the scoring. And I think at a really interesting time as well, because you're sort of half an hour in against a team who you've been on top of, you've had possession, you've had domination, but you haven't really, created chances or too many chances. And something like that just kind of blows the game right open.
Yeah, set piece again. Yeah. Ole, ole. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to this, but the commentators were sort of suggesting there was a few grumbles around the ground, or maybe a little bit of concern, maybe that Arsenal hadn't turned their dominance into a lead. And then you get this one moment and suddenly Arsenal in a really commanding position. But yeah, fantastic for Zubimendi. I mean, in his wildest dreams of how he might get his first Arsenal goal, I don't necessarily think he would have imagined that. So, and the players were clearly delighted for him as well. I think he's already quite a popular man in the dressing room. Yeah,
for sure. Spanish internationals and first Arsenal goals. We've seen a few good ones. The second goal, really early in the first, or in the second half, I should say. Because Forest didn't really threaten at all. There was that moment for Gibbs-White, wasn't there, late in the first half, and Timber got across, and I do want to talk a bit of Timber in a few minutes, but let's do the goals and then get into some of the individuals. Second goal, Riccardo Calafiori is playing as the left centre half because he's sort of, he goes where he wants, basically. Yeah. I did like this from... got to give a shout out to Tony Dolan.beastguy.social, who said Calafiori was popping up all over the place like the mole in Caddyshack. If you've ever seen that film, that will ring true. Like at one point he was like playing in the Odegaard position at one point. Played it right back for a bit as well in that first half. But, much like the Calafiori goal or the Gyokeres goal that he scored against Leeds, it was Calafiori who played a ball over the top. I think the defender will look at that and think he should have done better. He can't let the ball bounce. Eze times his run, and it's a great first-time ball across, and from there you just expect Gyokeres to score. Yeah, I mean, it is poor defending. That the right-back was kind of out of line with the defence. Brentford have just scored, by the way, sorry. Lovely news against Chelsea, if you're not aware. You probably know the result Chelsea by now. But yeah, I mean, that Calafiori pass, I know that it's poor defending for the fullback.
it's still a beautiful hit.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a golf shot because, you know, it's like a golf shot that lands on the green and he manages to sort of have enough spin on it that it dies in Eze's path. And it's real quality, I think, from Eberechi Eze to just think, I'm not even going to take a touch here. Left foot, first time, roll it across the 6-yard box. Yaya Sanogo was introduced to the crowd before the game, I understand. And I think he could have put that one away. So Gyokeres, I can understand why his immediate reaction was to point.
Hang on, what? That's just so random. Yaya Sanogo was introduced to the crowd before the... Why? What was happening?
He was there doing...
Oh, like media. The pre-match show or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Yaya
I don't think it was
Sanogo,
like when they announced Eze the other day before the Leeds game. He didn't walk out to the centre circle with, 60,000 people in the stands, bowing down, doing "We're not worthy" and stuff.
Sanogo 10.
I mean, I kind of hope he did, to be honest. As I say, I wasn't there. Maybe that's exactly what. Maybe he was like, he crowd surfed the entire way round the lower tier. I don't know. But Yaya Sanogo was there. That's the important thing.
And there to witness a very good, like a really good, actually, good finish from Gyokeres because he puts it into the ground.
Gets a bit of lift on it, doesn't he? And listen, it sort of was, I mean, he'd had an okay first half. Gyokeres, he had one really nice layoff, I thought, into Eze's path, I think it was. But it's tough for him to get involved in these games against teams that defend very deep, that defend in their own penalty area, which Forest really did, and quite doggedly, I thought, for the first half hour or so. But he's there. He's Johnny on the spot when he needs to be. A few yards out, another goal in a home game. He very nearly had another as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
with that shot
post.
That hit there outside of the post.
Is that the kind of goal that we've been looking for Arsenal to score more of?
Yeah. Like when we talk about being more direct, I thought that was a sort of theme of this whole game, actually. And, we were able to get the likes of Eze and Madueke into space, into situations where they were one-on-one, where they had, room to go in behind their man, to beat their man. And that Calafiori pass, I don't think it's coincidence that it was his pass against Leeds that released Gyokeres and his pass here that released Eze. I think he's got the vision, the technique, and I think above and beyond all else, just that kind of mad, absurd level of confidence to try these things. And that's what brings that kind of X factor that I think we all acknowledge that at times we've lacked.
I think both Eze and Gyokeres were better in the second half, and I think that's because you could see them sort of combine a little bit more. It's a really good ball across from Eze, and you have to score if you're a striker. You got to score from there, but right place, right time, made the run, and he was there. Forest made it.
Eze, by the way,
yeah.
Like I loved the assist. I loved the simplicity of it. But watching him play, I think Madueke, I think there were probably better performers on the day. I thought Madueke was great. I thought Mosquera was great. Zubimendi scored 2 goals. But there was just something about watching Eze that, to me, and I think this probably says something about the kind of Arsenal fan I am, but it just oozed Arsenal. Like it just all looked right to me. Like the way he rolled in off the left, the way he would look to beat his man, the sort of, the little sort of bit of pace he put on the ball when he passed it. It all just felt really right and familiar, which for a player making his first start might seem strange, but I suppose it's the reason that I've wanted it for so long, and the reason so many people are so excited about this signing, that he kind of just feels like a perfect fit for a type of football that we aspire to and that has become part of the kind of culture and the fabric of the club. So yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed watching him.
What did he say? Arteta said, Ebbs gives you something different, a different kind of flow and different connections, and very unpredictable as well. And there are some lovely touches from him. And, you know, as you said, like, this is the first time that front three has played together or started together anyway, you know, and those qualities.
And he's not a winger. You know what I mean?
No.
He's not Martinelli, and he's not Leroy Sané or whatever. But again, I just think that adds another dimension to our play, to have a guy who doesn't always want to hold the line, who wants to be in the pockets, who wants to drift in field, who is a bit more of a 10 than an 11, if you will. I think it really, really, really adds, and I'm really excited about what's to come. And I think Arteta's right to speak about relationships. I think that is what is sort of Wenger-ish about this player, that there's a kind of chemistry and that feeling of, you know, Philippe Auclair, who you had on the pod on Friday, speaking about Wenger's football as being like jazz, that idea of kind of collaboration and duet and finding the same wavelength with his teammates. I think Eze has all that sort of intuitively. So yeah, very exciting.
So look, Forest made changes, didn't really make any difference. We made some changes. Rice and Lewis Skelly came on, and then Arteta took both wide players off. And, you know, it really is something, isn't it, when you're taking two wide players off and you're bringing on Trossard and Martinelli. Whatever people think about those two players or their form or whatever else, you know, for those to be your substitutes, again, is another indication of just how strong this particular squad is. And it was Trossard who provided the assist for Zubimendi to score his second goal and make the game safe. I think they got that free kick routine a little bit wrong. It looked to me like they were trying to set Declan Rice up for a shot.
Yeah.
But the ball wasn't right for that. He played it to Trossard. Trossard, a little clipped cross. A nice clipped cross as well. And there is Zubimendi to head home. I suppose two goals that you wouldn't associate with him, like a belting volley and then a header. I mean, was it you who said he's bigger than you think?
Yeah.
So he is bigger than you think, but like maybe in this Arsenal team of giant guys, he looks a little bit smaller, but you know, he got up well and it's a good header and 3-0 to Arsenal.
I mean, you can be 6'4" and not a great header of the ball.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it was Phil Costa or Lewis. Somebody I saw tweeting today. I'm going to check. I'm going to give the right person credit for this. Rarely for me.
Okay.
I'm actually going to do my research because somebody was sharing a screen grab. Yes. I think it was from Phil Costa's piece when he signed about how Zubimendi had brilliant aerial statistics at Real Sociedad. I think he won 67% of 250 aerial duels across the last 6 seasons, which is really, really good, really strong. I mean, that success ratio would rank with anybody, you know. And so, I think he's got the timing, he's got the leap. It looked to me a bit like this header I couldn't quite see, but that he sort of headed it and it came off the Forest defender. I'm not sure. But listen, fantastic for him. And I totally agree about the subs. Like, I feel like Trossard and Martinelli maybe haven't had the most love from Arsenal fans over the summer, because I think a lot of people wanted to see them upgraded, and for a lot of people that meant seeing them sold. They kind of have been upgraded, or at least we've made signings in that area of the pitch, but to still have them at our disposal for however long, again, speaks to that depth. And they were both a threat in their time on the pitch. I mean, Trossard gets the assist. Martinelli in that right channel, had space to run into, was a threat in behind. I think there were one or two occasions where we might have released him sooner and quicker. So, yeah, I mean, as I said at the top, it was just a great performance all round and a great flexing of our muscles, really.
Yeah. So here's a stat from Orbinho. who says, Leandro Trossard now has 50 goal involvements for Arsenal, 28 goals, 22 assists. Since the Belgian joined the club, only Bukayo Saka has more for the club in all competitions.
Wow.
You know? So look, I get it. We all want to look great.
Player.
He is.
He's a serious player.
He is.
I think there's always been this feeling that maybe, that he was kind of not a stopgap, but he was kind of second choice in that window. I mean, a far better signing by any measure than the player we hoped to sign, which was Mykhailo Mudryk, for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, his ability to actually produce end product has few rivals in the Arsenal squad, and I'm really glad he's here. Like, I just think he's a player that. Because there was a bit of talk, wasn't there, about him potentially going to Turkey, like once the window's shut, or there was one or two rumours, but from what I understand, there was never any realistic prospect of that at all. Like, Arsenal want him here, they gave him the pay bump, and I think I would wager he will find a way to make an impact this season, even if he's not starting.
I was quite surprised by how many people were like, take the money. Take the money for Trossard. We've got to take the money. And I'm like, what the fuck good is 20 million euros now to Arsenal between now and January? Well, I mean, genuinely, listen, maybe the accountants have a different view on this than I would, and that's fine. But
they may do, I think.
I think they might well do. But, when you look at the schedule, you look at the games, you look at the competitions we're going to be in, Leandro Trossard is far more useful to Arsenal than any amount of money that we're probably not going to be able to spend until next summer anyway, because of how much we spent in this window. So it was really strange to me. I think he will be important, and he got an assist today, and we know the kind of character he is, so he's going to push to play and push to be involved, and that can only be a good thing, I think. So listen, before we go into the break, can we talk about a player who made his first start today, who wasn't Eberechi Eze, but Cristhian Mosquera? Listen, we got I was going to say a glimpse, but we got a really good indication of his quality when he had to come on at Anfield after, 4 minutes, and was really, really good. And there was a time, and there have been times, when without William Saliba, I have felt, we're in big trouble here, because Saliba is so fundamental. He's just so good and so important for this team. But I thought there was so much to like about his performance today, on the ball, off the ball, defensively. Like, this dude is 20? And he is not even slightly rattled by any of your Premier League bullshit. He's like, I'll stand here with the ball at my feet. Come on, I'll do it. It was like Arteta said, do an impression of William Saliba. And he went, okay, that's exactly what I'll do. He was so impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I always do my my little post-match video, and I imagine people were expecting me to start by talking about Madueke or Zubimendi or Gyokeres, but I couldn't start anywhere else but Mosquera. I thought he was that good. I think he's been that good really across those two games. I mean, Anfield was just a huge test for a young centre-half. He came in and looked so at home. I think in this game, it's a different calibre of opposition maybe, but I think he was even better, because there were points where he made really critical defensive interventions in his own penalty area. I can think of two moments where he made really superb challenges.
The one after the Raya save, when it looked like we could clear the ball. I can't quite remember what was it. Timber, somebody dallied anyway, and the ball broke to a Forest player, and I was like, uh-oh. And he just made a really, really good tackle.
Yeah. Everything he does looks super smooth. He's another who really glides across the pitch, eats up the ground, long stride, closes the space really quickly, never looks flustered so far. I mean, I suppose you've got to remember, yes, he's 21, but he played nearly 100 games for Valencia.
Yeah, he was. Once he got into their team, he did not come out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's played for Spain at every level, basically, from under 15s up to, I think he was in the 2024 under 23 Olympic squad. So he's kind of a Spanish international centre-half in the making. But he's hugely experienced for his age. And that was something we talked about when the club signed the likes of Ben White or Martin Odegaard. These are players who, although they had youth, they also had experience. And when you look at what Arsenal have reportedly paid for Mosquera,
it's a steal.
Yeah, like an initial 13 million or so, we believe, exploiting a contract situation where he had a year to go. Just a really, really smart move. Feels like a player that, we spoke about the accountants maybe and how they might feel about Leandro Trossard. I think this is one they'll like, because his market value is probably, more than doubled in his brief time in the Premier League.
Oh my gosh! I was talking to Andrew Allen about it, and we obviously, having watched it on TV, have a different view. And he was talking about how much of a communicator he is on the pitch. And you kind of think sometimes a young central defender, might come in and be deferential or whatever to, more experienced players, with Gabriel one side of him and Timber the other side. I mean, what a pair to have either side of you, by the way. But he was saying he's pointing, he's talking, he's, communicating all the time, which I think is really interesting for a young player as well. And a very good sign, I think, too.
I think as well, we always speak about the strength of Saliba and Gabriel as a partnership. And when one of those players is absent, I think you're always looking to the remaining kind of first choice centre-half to really step up and be the senior partner with whoever comes in, whether it was Saliba with Kivior towards the end of last season or Gabriel and Mosquera as it is at the present moment. And I think Gabriel really did that today. I mean, it was kind of a captain's performance. I thought he was excellent too. We're just more accustomed to him being excellent. But, it must be... I'm not saying it's easy, but it must be a hell of a help to have a centre-half like that alongside you for someone like Mosquera. Oh, my gosh. And listen, there was a point in that second half, I think, when could have been Hudson-Odoi had the ball around the corner flag, and Timber came over and just started, I can't describe it any other way, as just sort of kicking away at him. But he wasn't kicking him. He was just sort of making life so difficult for him. It must be so hard to play against Timber when you're an attacker, because he is a really dogged, he's like a sort of Jack Russell in the tackle, if you know what I mean. He's like, he gets right in there, and he came away with the ball, and, ultimately I don't quite remember what happened at that moment, but, Hudson or whoever the Forest player was had the ball, and just ended up losing it because Timber was relentless in the tackle. I thought he was really, really good today, not just in that aspect of his game, but going forward as well. Some of the overlapping he did with Madueke was very, very good. There was a chance he created, which maybe Declan Rice slid in on and couldn't quite get the touch. Both ways, I thought this was a really, really impressive game from Jurriën Timber. Yeah, he's outstanding. I think you can make the case that, I'm just trying to think. I don't think there are many better right backs in the league. I really don't. I think he's probably the best from a defensive standpoint. And he seems to be adding more strings to his bow going forward. And I've got to give a shout as well to David Raya, by the way, played his 100th game for Arsenal today, and I thought made a superb save. An important point in the game. I think it was 2-0 at that time. Yeah. And, if you concede there, Forest aren't a bad team. They've got good players. Unfortunately for them, they've hired Ange Postecoglou. So
it's just who they are, mate. It's just who they are now.
Don't quite know how that will go, but there you go. I was trying to think, what's the opposite of a new manager bounce? A new manager
someone said we had that on the Discord, and somebody said you've just got to call it an Ange. So, let me see who that was.
They've Anged themselves.
Yeah, it was Gibbsinho who asked, would it be a new manager splat? And Geordie in reply said, it's called an Ange. So there you go.
But, goals change games. And I thought that was a big save.
Yeah. And a clean sheet in his 100th appearance seems nice.
Yeah. I mean, Mikel Arteta went big on it, didn't he, in his press conference, and rightly so. I mean, he took a lot of criticism from lots of different quarters at the time for the signing of Raya and for his handling of that situation. But his decision is justified by the numbers. You're looking at back-to-back Golden Gloves and a strong start to this season too.
Yes. All right. Well, look, all in all, a really good day. I think a very solid day, a day in which we saw the depth of the squad and we saw what these new players can bring, and we're 4 games in and there's a lot more to come, and I think the signs are very, very promising. So unless there's anything else that's struck you from the game or that's up for discussion, we should take a break, no?
Yeah, let's take a break. Absolutely.
Let's take a break. Might get a glass of wine, given it's Saturday night. Let's do that.
It's Saturday night, Andrew.
Yeah.
We got to claim all those percentage cool points back that we can.
That's it. Okay, time for me to get a glass of wine. We'll take a break here. We'll come back with your questions and more in part 2 right after this. Welcome back to the Arsecast Extra. This is part 2 of the show where we answer the questions that you send to us on Blue Sky at gunnerblog.bsky.social and at arseblog.com. Also on the Arseblog Discord chat server, which you get access to if you are an Arseblog member on Patreon. James, remember last week we talked about that bit that I didn't do for the Arsecast?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The idea of Andrea Berta singing £20 to the tune of Bella Ciao.
Yes. I had people actually complain to me on social media this week, not in a bad way, but they were saying, God damn it, you said that and I just can't get it out of my head. I've got this earworm going around and around in my head.
Yeah.
Wow. I felt like I had to, just sort of follow through on this whole thing. You said there was a time you would have run with it, but obviously you're a busy man these days.
Sure.
You've got a small child to look after. It's not the same. But me, I'm just an old loser with a glass of wine on a Saturday night.
So last Saturday night, you recorded this, is what you're telling me.
Basically, this is what I did. Here we go.
You want Vieira, you want Lokonga, £20, £20, £20, Alon Zinchenko, Reece Nelson also, but no cash for Arsenal. Spent legal tender on 8 new players. Lots of pounds, lots of pounds, lots of pound, so many dollar. Stan Kroenke holler, oh God, we're fucked for PSR. We're not like Chelsea, we don't make money. £20, £20, £20, but with Arteta, we make a team better, and you can stick it up your arse.
Wow. a strong defence of his transfer strategy there from Andrea Berta.
Stick it up your arse is essential.
Stick it up your arse.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this was the game. Kind of, certainly sort of seemed to suggest that's an appropriate line to take. One question: Andrea Berta's known to be quite a private, quiet man. How did you lure him into the recording studio to get that track of £20, £20, £20, £20?
I offered him a very expensive belt.
Okay.
I said, I'll buy you a really, really expensive belt.
His one weakness.
His one weakness is expensive belts. I exploited that.
He's got, and selling players, obviously.
And by the way, if anyone else listening, if anyone out there listening thinks, oh God, that's going to be an earworm, think about how my week has been, having to put that together and listen to it to make sure everything's all right. So yeah,
I very much enjoyed it. I'm glad. I think you made the right decision.
Thanks. You know, it felt like the right thing to do.
You know, but we try. It's all we can do.
That's all we can do. Right.
Oh, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of kind of novelty songs, this is quite mad. So I didn't know this, but I was just literally, as we were starting recording part 2, I was just in the kind of back room of my YouTube channel.
Oh, like the sort of studio bit or whatever.
Yeah, the UI studio thing, right?
Yeah.
And I did not know this, but there is a tab called Inspiration.
Right.
Which I guess is AI generated, and it's ideas for your next video. And it comes up with like suggested YouTube videos.
Okay.
So the number one suggested video for my channel is Arsenal's summer transfer window rap battle.
A rap battle between who?
And it's a humorous and engaging rap battle is envisioned between key figures involved in Arsenal's summer transfer window, with their distinct perspectives on player acquisitions and departures being brought to life.
Wow.
I guess I would have to sample £20, £20, £20 for the hook.
Yeah.
This unique format allows for an entertaining recap of the summer's activity. And it goes deeper. Like it provides an outline. Absolutely crazy. The opening diss tracks, Edu Gaspar's verse, focused on shrewd business, long-term vision, future-proofing the squad, and the big money deals that got done.
Edu's not even there.
He wasn't
anymore.
even there. Mikel Arteta's counter addresses tactical needs. The fan's fury, a representative fan, perhaps a popular Arsenal fan channel personality, delivers a verse expressing common frustrations, missed opportunities, and celebrating unexpected gems.
You've taken the pride out of it, Gazidis.
This is extraordinary.
And
it's provided me with like potential thumbnail images.
No way. Where is this in the back bit?
In the content tab, there's an inspiration.
I see that. I've got that on mine.
Yeah. Suggested titles: Kroenke's wallet versus Arteta's wish list. Transfer window rap battle. So that's number one. What else have they suggested? Everything else is what's weird is like everything else is quite normal. Like number 2 is Arsenal's unsung heroes. And number 3 is deep dive. Arteta's tactical fullback pairings explained.
Wow.
But nothing to top. I mean, my worry is now, do I have to deliver Arsenal's summer transfer window rap battle?
Someone's going to have to do it now that it's out there, or someone else is just going to steal the idea.
Surely we're only months away from a button existing on YouTube where I just press it and...
Yeah, it sort of samples everything, of you, your face, your voice.
Yeah, I just thought listeners would be interested. How mad is that? I had no idea this feature existed.
Josh...
If that is indeed what you want, let me know.
Josh Kroenke versus Arteta versus Andrea Berta versus Edu in a...
Yeah,
Arsenal transfer window rap battle.
£20, the remix.
Wow.
Okay, should we do some questions?
Yeah, let's do some questions.
Okay, let's. What about this? I thought this was interesting from Errol B. He said, watching the game today, I loved all the short, quick passing. That's not what the question's about. But he wanted to say that.
All right, good.
I thought when we gel, we are going to be unbeatable. But then how do you get a squad this big to gel? As far as I know, all the most successful squads have been high quality but smaller. Pep claims he prefers a smaller squad. What do you think? Will we ultimately concentrate on a smaller, higher quality squad?
I mean, I think yes. You know, the way football goes, ultimately, your best players are going to play most of the games most of the time. That's just kind of how it goes, right? But I think our problem has been that our best players have had to play games we didn't want them to play or need them to play. And that then, in the sort of final part of seasons, has come back to bite us, or at least the perception is that if we had a bit more depth, we would have been better capable or better able to go the distance in a couple of seasons, you know? It's very deliberate. It is very deliberate. There's no two ways about it, you know? That the way the squad has been built has been to provide huge redundancy in all areas, and that's not an accident. You don't spend 250, 260 million pounds by accident. And I think ultimately there'll be some casualties along the way. There'll be some players who don't play as much, and then you have decisions to make about, you know, what happens with them in the summer, or they might say, listen, this is not for me. I don't want to hang around and just not make the bench, or occasionally make the bench, or just play EFL Cup games. But you know, in the meantime, we just have to look at today as an example of how beneficial it can be for this Arsenal team, because list the players that we didn't have on the pitch today, as we did at the start, and think, could we have won that game last season or the season before? I don't think so. And today we won the game. I'm not going to say easily. We had to work hard. We did work hard. Mikel Merino, by the way, he didn't get a shout in part one, but I think he deserves a shout because of the way he played. I thought he was really, really good. Some really great footwork from him. You know, a great example of how, if you want to rest Declan Rice and not like tear the fucking physical arse out of Declan Rice ahead of a game against Man City next week, you've got Mikel Merino who can come in and do a job like that today. So I think the physical arse as well as the spiritual arse, yes. You know,
let's not tear either out.
No,
for God's sake.
He needs both his arses. That's the thing, you know.
That's his secret.
That is exactly. How can Declan Rice run like that for 90 minutes? 2 arses. That's how it is. But that's what I mean. Is like, you know, we could be sitting here. Hopefully, we're sitting here. Well, not next Saturday, but you know, when we do the next Arsecast Extra after the game against Man City, and we're saying, wow, that Rice performance. Could he have done that if he'd had to play 90 minutes against Forest, 90 minutes against Bilbao, and then 90 minutes against Man City? I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're sort of not in danger, and I understand why people are interested in this and want to talk about it, but I think we just have to let it play out and just be happy that we have what we have, and then worry about the rest of it later.
Yeah, and I think there will be a time to not worry about it, but I think there will be a kind of reckoning of some kind, in that one of my thoughts watching the game today, and you know, I was bowled over by the degree of depth, and you've got people like Cristhian Nottingham, who I think is back in training but wasn't actually in the matchday squad today. You know, Saliba probably could have been there if required, wasn't. I don't think. Well, actually, I'll say something else first. In terms of the question of like, do we? Who was it who asked the question? His name was Errol. Yeah, like I said, I remember previous squads that have won things being smaller. We touched on this in part one, but squads are getting bigger. That's just a fact, right? So that may be kind of a bit of a moot point, because I think squads are just getting bigger by necessity. At the same time, I did also look at this degree of depth and look at the players getting off the bench and looking at the players not getting off the bench or not involved in the matchday squad, and think, I'm not wholly convinced this is sustainable for multiple years. Mm-hmm. Like, we had a question last week about, why do people think it needs to be this year? Why do we need to win this year? And And we came up with sort of different answers for that. But another reason that I think this year does feel like a particularly good chance is I'm not sure we'll be able to have as big, as deep a squad next season. I would be shocked if we got to June, and there weren't a few who were saying, I need to be playing more than I am.
Yeah. But is that not also kind of the situation that we, with, all due respect to the £20,
yeah,
where we need to be, where players are sort of a little bit uncomfortable, or we're a little bit uncomfortable with some of those players leaving, but the reality is if they go, they might actually generate some money.
Yeah. And look, maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe the way the game's going, this is just how big squads have to be, and every player who leaves next summer will be replaced. I don't know. But my feeling is that, potentially there are one or two that we would have sold from this group that we wouldn't have carried through the whole season if we'd had a really, really good offer. I think next summer we will see departures, and I actually think next season we might be one or two lighter. But but I don't think we're ever going to go back to 15, 16 players. I just don't think the schedule permits us to do that.
No, the general football schedule, along with the Premier League and the competitions we're involved in, and pre-season and international tournaments, I do think it is maybe a little bit of there's potentially a tipping point, isn't there, where the big clubs can really afford to build out their squads in a way that some of the other clubs can't. In terms of stockpiling quality, you can have numbers, but maybe not as much quality, which I do think is going to be a very interesting thing to see how it plays out over the next few years. Arteta was talking, wasn't he, about how do you keep squads fit, and he talked about, well, you're going to have to make them bigger beyond the 25. But
that feels like the direction, but whether it gets there quick enough for us to kind of maintain this group at this size, I don't know. The other question is, what if you start winning? If you start winning trophies and all these guys are getting medals, how does that affect how they feel about being maybe bit part players? Is kind of is too strong, but supporting roles within the squad, do you become a more attractive proposition if it's I might only play 15 games, but I might end the season with 2 medals? There's plenty of people who've been happy to do that at Man City over the years.
For sure. There's an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor or Actress, isn't there?
The PFA Award for Best Supporting Player is what we need introduced.
PFA Young Player of the Year, PFA Supporting Young Player of the Year. I mean, look, it sounds kind of absurd, but maybe that's where it's going. So, what about this question from Freddie LJ on the Discord? He says, what percentage of his goals do you think Gyokeres will score at home? I think it might be 80% plus. Wow.
I mean, it's currently 100. I don't expect that to remain the case. That's the Lacazette approach, of course. I don't know, actually, because I don't know what standard. I have to confess. I don't know what the average Premier League... What would you venture?
I don't know.
On it?
I mean, it feels like you should score more goals at home. If you're a 20 goal a season player, you probably score 60% of them at home, right, I would say. But I don't know. We need the Opta guys to tell us.
Yeah. I suppose the question is suggesting that they think there's something fundamental about the way we play or he plays that lends itself to him scoring goals at home. I'm not sure I quite see that. If I think about Old Trafford, for example, I mean, we've only played 2 away games. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, but one
was the hardest away game in the league.
And another was a very hard away game, regardless of what a clusterfuck Manchester United are.
And he played an hour, and I don't think he was anywhere close to fully fit.
Yeah.
So I think it would be dangerous to extrapolate too much from that. I think he'll probably score most of his goals at home, but I think 80% sounds high to me.
What are you going for?
To be more like between, maybe closer to 60, I would say.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think probably more at home than away, but I'm going to say like 57.3 to 8%.
Yeah. I mean, we may be way out on this. Like, maybe strikers always do this. Here's an article about Salah last season. What is it saying? This is good radio.
Yeah. Saturday night. Don't worry. I can fill in the gaps with some sexy funk music if you'd like.
13 away games, 6 months to come. All right, we don't know.
We don't know. Fuck it.
Ask fucking up to Joe or something, all right? We do the £20 stuff. You wouldn't go to Opta Joe and ask him for a novelty song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Orbino.
You're not getting no fucking Bella Ciao from Orbino, I can tell you that. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I think 60, I'll say 65, 63% at home.
Right.
We'll check it at the end of the season, will we?
No. We won't.
We've had a drink, all right? We've had one drink. Here's a good question.
Okay.
That was a good question too. I didn't mean to make that sound like it wasn't. Right.
Yeah, that guy's sitting at home now going, fuck. The one time I got a question on and they're saying this is a...
It is a good question. But the thing is, I think there's stuff about Gyokeres that should be as suited to playing away from home. Like, if we can really get that transitional game, direct game, play him into space, then he can score what I'll call the sporting goals, you know? So I think he'll score goals on the road. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Crimson 505. Do you think Madueke gives us something different compared to Saka, rather than just being a Saka backup? And then he says, I have a feeling we may play him in place of Saka for different opponents or game states.
We had quite a lot of questions like this, where people were saying, like, could we get, let me see, Lay Human on Blue Sky says, would you entertain the thoughts of occasionally repositioning Saka to get both him, Madueke, and Eze in the team? And if so, what configuration?
I mean, we have seen a configuration of Saka and Madueke on the pitch at the same time, with Madueke over on the left. And I don't think it's crazy to suggest that you could play... whether we'd start a game like this, I don't know. Yeah, I could see that we might. With Saka on the right, Madueke on the left, and Eze in a more central position.
Definitely not impossible. It's sort of hard to envisage Mikel Arteta doing it, but maybe he's got to break the mold a little bit this season, you know?
Yeah.
So...
and what do you think about that first question of, like, how Madueke... What does he offer that's different to Saka?
I think he's less efficient than Saka.
Yeah. It's not like Mosquera where, as you said, it was an immaculate Saliba impersonation. He is different to Saka, Madueke, isn't he?
He is, but I mean, you could see that from, when he was at Chelsea, and when you look at the numbers and when you look at what he does, that there is a willingness to do things or try things in the final third where maybe, and this is not criticism of Bukayo Saka, because who the fuck am I to criticize Bukayo Saka and the way that he's performed and produced for Arsenal. But I think maybe if there's a not high risk, but like it feels like Madueke would be more inclined to try something, whereas Saka might have a bit more inherent patience in his game. Does that make sense? Where he might see the opportunity and go, you know what, we can recycle, we'll keep the ball, we'll see what else we can do, and it might come back to me and I might just spank it in the top corner. But Madueke looks like he just really wants to take people on all the time. Like, just he's like, he looks at the fullback and goes, I'm having you. I'm going to have it, I'm going to have a go. And there were moments today where it didn't work for him, quite a few of those moments where it didn't work for him, particularly when, what's his name? Fake Nico Williams moved over to the left-hand side. I think he found it a bit more challenging against him than the other guy, Morata.
Yeah, but I think Athletic, by the way, likely to be without the real Nico Williams.
That's good.
Tuesday.
That's good.
I mean, these are broad brushstrokes, but I guess it feels like Saka. It feels like Saka plays more with kind of the end result in mind. He plays with thinking of the goal and the assist, and I feel like Madueke thinks of the duel. I think he thinks of, I'm going to beat this guy. He feels like a cage player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a guy who at 5-a-side is just like, I'm going to have this guy one-on-one. And I don't think he's as clean or as efficient as Saka with his execution when he gets there. But he does have maybe more of that kind of slightly maverick spirit. He's a guy who works, and to be fair, I don't know what Saka's doing outside of training, but Madueke literally has a one-on-one skills coach that he works with, independently.
Wow.
He thinks about, he's all about beating his man.
Maybe this is the balance then, it's like you can do what he did today on a number of occasions and get the ball to the byline and cut it back, and Forest defended quite well, and he put in a couple of good crosses. On another day, maybe an Arsenal player gets on the end of those.
Yeah, with both feet, by the way, as well.
Sure.
I think they are different, and I think it would, be sort of, it'd be kind of lazy to compare them. I think we're still discovering the ways in which they are different. Can I envisage a situation where Madueke is picked ahead of Saka? I have to be honest and say, not right now. I can't.
Not for a big game.
No, not. And I almost find it difficult. If we're playing Liverpool and it's 1-1 at the Emirates Stadium and there's 20 minutes to go, and Saka comes off for Madueke. Yeah, I mean, listen, it could happen, but I think it would raise eyebrows still, because Saka is Saka. Like, he's the man, really, at Arsenal.
Yeah. But also the reality is we're sitting here talking about Bukayo Saka and Noni Madueke at a point when Bukayo Saka's out with an injury, and he's going to be out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury. So listen, let's just be grateful we have Madueke, and I think what the job Arteta has to do is sort of get him to sort of not rejig his mindset. It's about like, your job isn't done when you get to the byline if you just get the ball across. Your job is to make that final pass impossible to defend as much as possible. Not always, of course, but that relentlessness that he has and that ability to sort of go at the defender again and again and again, at some point you've got to turn that into end product, which is where I think when I talk about Saka and the efficiency, is that's what he's got and has had for such a long time.
Yeah. Efficient is absolutely the word for Saka. Like, there's nothing unnecessarily flash about anything that he does. And Madueke, I think, to be honest, plays with like slightly more flair at times, but has not proven to be as consistent in delivering end product. So, but a very cool kind of dimension to this is that these guys are such great friends and have a friendship that goes way back before Arsenal, before even the senior England setup, where they kind of came up playing in academy sides together, and Madueke at Tottenham at one stage.
Against each other.
Yeah, against each other, and their parents sort of got to know each other.
That's right. I saw that. He did the golf cart thingy with Frimmy, didn't he? You know.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
It was quite interesting to hear that aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're this very close set of friends, and I think even spoke when Madueke was potentially coming over.
That's unusual, isn't it? You know,
dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unusual when like a club is about to sign a player in your position.
Yeah,
that you would, you know.
In theory, they're in direct competition. But and I think Bukayo Saka is a big fan of Madueke's talent. Like I think when Mikel Arteta was, you know, speaking to people about Madueke and doing the sort of checks on him and his personality, I think the testimony of people like Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice weighed very heavy. So yeah, it's just fascinating. Like these two guys who are they in? Are they? Is it competition? Is it a collaboration? Is it both of those things? I mean, we saw Saka, didn't we, in the tunnel?
Well, I have a question actually.
Go on.
From questions, so many questions, and he says it's a great day not only for our new signings but our so-called deputies. At some point on TNT, they cut to a very cool, calm, and collected William Saliba standing next to a decidedly more sincere Bukayo Saka. This moment, invariably cherry-picked by the director, did get me thinking about the mentality of the injured star set for a spell on the sidelines and what it must feel like when you see your understudy shine. I'm loving the strength and depth, but there must be a touch of ambivalence for the players in question. Are they going to love it too? It's a great question based on what we've just been talking about. That's not to say the other guys, but the other people who ask questions, your questions were very, very good too. Very good. Don't feel bad.
All the questions are good.
James is, you know, is cast doubts, but honestly.
Aspersions have been cast about some of the questions. Listen, I think most people aren't around. Most people are out on Saturday night. Do you know what I mean? They ain't asking us questions.
Yeah, that's true.
We're picking from a smaller pool, but they were all winners. That's what
high quality.
Know. Efficient. I mean, I don't think Bukayo Saka can possibly be insecure about his place in the Arsenal team. I mean, listen, Madueke was great today. He's been really good. I think any suggestion that like he's coming for Saka's place, I think really, how can I put it? I just think that undervalues what Saka's done for us over the last few years and how important he is. And I would imagine that, albeit at quite an early stage, as I understand it, the contract negotiations that are going on between Arsenal and Bukayo Saka will reinforce his sense of importance and value to the club. Is it a bit weird for him to see others taking the applause and the plaudits and shining? Perhaps, but that's what being at a top club is like. And I think the issue has been that too often it's been Saka in that limelight on his own. Or if not quite on his own, then it's certainly part of a much smaller group.
Sure.
I think he has to see it as people who are easing the burden that he's had to carry.
And also giving the team a better chance to win things.
Yeah.
Like I think if you asked William Saliba or Bukayo Saka right now, would you rather play 38 Premier League games and finish second, or play, 35 but 26 starts and, Yeah,
but you get a medal at the end.
But you get a winner's medal at the end of it. I'm pretty sure I know what they're going to answer.
Yeah.
After finishing second 3 years in a row.
Absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely no doubt. And that's why I say, like, any grievances, any concerns, a clear way to assuage those and banish them would be to win. That would make everything, every sacrifice that every player is making worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's it's also quite new for us. Like, I talk about this squad as being unprecedented in terms of the degree of depth it offers. I don't think we as fans really have ever had to discuss and analyse and rationalise some of these selection decisions that we're going to see or that we're going to face. It's new for Mikel as well. So it's going to be a big narrative across the season because we've never had anything quite like this before.
No, I agree. Okay, what about this one to get us out of here, given it is a Saturday night? And
we got to get out into the clubs, mate.
We got exactly.
Good, just shouting into a DJ's ear, play £20!
Paul Oakenfold remix of £20.
Feat Edu Gaspar. I know he's not Arsenal anymore. Just play the track. He was at Arsenal today, actually.
He was there. He was there in his in the director's box. Yeah, I'm sure that was a fun reunion, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Anyway, subordinate clause on the Discord said, why are broadcasters trying to make their coverage even worse by having fucking RefCam?
Yeah.
What is the story with it? Like, you can get you could go to Curry's tomorrow or whatever your local electronic shop is and get a camera that you could sellotape to your forehead that would have better resolution than the RefCam that they showed on the screen today. What was that? Like, I don't like the idea of it in the first place. I think it's just pointless. It doesn't really add anything. But the fact that they're trying to broadcast through what looks like an old Nokia phone does not really do it for me, I have to say.
Yeah, it would be better if it wasn't just a 3210, dangling from a referee's neck or whatever it is. I mean, actually, I thought the best use of it I've seen, actually, I think, was the Liverpool game. I thought the angle of Szoboszlai's free kick it provided was...
I didn't watch that. What do you think I am?
Yeah, don't watch it. It's painful. But like, it was quite illuminating to sort of see a free kick from someone who's at pitch level height. Like it just sort of underlined how remarkable a goal it was. Right. But yeah, are they there? Do you think part of the idea is that they're a bit of a deterrent in terms of dissent?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Like a police, like how policemen wear cameras on their vests or whatever.
And then they delete all the footage after they beat up people and... Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wondered, like, is it FPGML been like, I'll tell you that because no player wants to be the guy in kind of peep show style, talking into the camera. Do
you remember? I mean, you can find it on YouTube, but there was a game years and years and years ago where Arsenal could have been against Wimbledon. I can't remember, right. But
they're using the same camera now. I believe.
Yeah, exactly, exact same camera. But anyway, they mic'd up David Ellery. Someone said, by the way, palmstree.bsky.social said it's like motion sickness cam rather than RefCam, which I think is a really good way of describing it. Anyway, there was this game and David Ellery, I don't know if you remember David Ellery, the referee. He was like a housemaster at one of the posh schools.
He actually was that, right. Yeah.
He was. But
You're
anyway,
not comparing him to one. That's what he was.
That's literally what he was. But Arsenal thought they'd scored a goal. And Tony Adams, he's like screaming at David Ellery going, it's over the line! It's my goal! It's over the line! And his voice, honestly, is as high-pitched as I've heard any man's voice ever be, apart from Jimmy Somerville from the Communards. When he's singing.
If you put David Ellery, Tony Adams into YouTube, you will find it.
You will find it. But
he calls David Ellery a cheat, I believe.
And he gets. I think he gets booked for that. But anyway, the point was they didn't know. Arsenal forgot to tell the players that day that the referee had a mic on him. But now, of course, I think they're probably well aware of the referee being mic'd up and camered up, and fucking Johnny.
Because that's the TV jackpot. Like, it's all very well then being like, and here's what Zubimendi's goal looked like to the referee, but the dream for Sky surely is like, here's Paolo Di Canio running up to you and, you know, nutting you from a first-person perspective.
Yeah,
that's what they're after, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what it's for, other than to sort of make the referees more a part of this than they need to be. You know, the idea of like a good ref is a ref you don't notice. That seems to be gone now. It's over.
I hear you. I think there is some merit in, you know, we watch football and play FIFA from a camera angle, you know, whether we're in the telly or whether we're in the ground, that is not actually representative of what it's like to be on that pitch. And I do think there is a value in showing you a sort of pitch level perspective. Arsenal have this bit of kit at London Colney, don't they, where they can take a game and convert it into virtual reality. So they can put an academy player in a VR set and like give them the perspective of William Saliba in any given Premier League game.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like, so, you know, they can be like, this is what it looked like from the viewpoint of Declan Rice to play Man City, and they can use that as a kind of educational tool. I think there's something to be said for that. It's just a bit lame that it's the ref.
Yeah, that's it. No one wants to see what the ref sees, really.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to show it to us, at least let us see it. It was just all jiggling around on, who's the ref today? Darren England.
Also, I tell you what would be bloody good, and this is actually the most important point. We get RefCam of like a Szoboszlai free kick or a Zubimendi wonder goal. Are we getting RefCam of contentious decisions?
There's a good question.
Yeah, like, are they going to show us RefCam of, you know, a penalty award where a guy goes over someone's leg and it's crowded, and are we going to see whether or not they could even see it? That would be interesting.
I guess it would be. But
that makes me suspect the answer to that question is no.
No. Nothing that makes the referees look bad will be allowed by Howard Webb, I don't think. So,
well,
right. Okay, I just saw Chelsea score a goal to go ahead, so I'm quite sad now.
They're ahead
now.
85 minutes, Caicedo thunderbolt into the top corner.
Yeah.
Was it a good goal?
It was a decent hit, but like crap defending from Brentford.
We won't know until we see it from RefCam, of course.
Yeah. RefCam, the equivalent of which is watching it going like, that's how you know what RefCam is. All right, we better leave it there.
Enjoy Bilbao.
I will do my very best. I feel like there might be some ham to be eaten over there.
Sure. Win, lose, or draw.
Either way. I've got to have sustenance over the course of a few days in Bilbao. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if you're out there, do say hi. And hopefully we can have a nice Champions League win as well to kick off our European campaign. I'm not quite sure what the pod's situation will be next week, whether we'll do one on Wednesday from Bilbao or not. I'll decide that. In the meantime, we will have an episode of The 30 for you on Monday, though, looking back at all the weekend's Premier League action, as we always do, on Patreon, patreon.com/Arseblog. For now, though, enjoy your Saturday night or Sunday morning or whenever it is that you're listening to this, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye.